Welcome to the Always On Podcast. I am your host, Duncan MacPherson, and on this podcast, our objective is to enable our audience, which are high-caliber fee-for-service professionals, to always be working on their business and on themselves, personally and professionally. And on today's podcast, I had a great conversation with Cathi Durrell, who is the owner of Lavish Cards. Lavish's gallery-style cards are the perfect way to show your clients that you value their business and, more importantly, that you value the relationship. And I could parade a steady stream of financial advisors who have used Lavish Cards over the years and got just unbelievable reactions from their clients and strategic partners. Ordering is simple and the product is exceptional, and I can say that without hesitation. In this episode, we talked about how to humanize the client experience and how to find a sweet spot between the art and science of using gratitude and activating chemistry within your client community. I hope you like it. And if you do, please like and share and tell your colleagues. If you have any ideas on topics and themes down the road that you'd like to hear on this podcast, just let us know. Thanks for listening. Every financial professional I meet has a unique approach. And then there are some commonalities. And at a minimum, virtually every financial professional strives to competitor-proof their best relationships, get out in front of their evolving needs to capture money in motion and achieve total client engagement, and then, of course, convert clients into referral-generating advocates, because ultimately that is the lowest hanging fruit, the highest ROI when it comes to client acquisition. Now, to that end, when I travel, when I speak to financial professionals, I'm often asked, what's working? Give me one good idea. And now more than ever, what I'm telling our clients is to humanize their client experience. And with me, I have a bona fide authority who has mastered the art and science of professionalizing gratitude when it comes to client retention and client acquisition as a financial professional. Cathi Durrell is one half of the dynamic duo who heads up and leads a stellar team at Lavish Cards. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me, Duncan.
I'm glad you're here. We're going to share best practices and tell you some success stories. As simplistic as it sounds, this is a lost art. A great greeting card to pay tribute to a meaningful client event or as part of your client experience has never had a bigger bang for the buck. So, Cathi, when did you start Lavish Cards again? Remind me.
We started about 12 years ago, Duncan. We had a little nudge from a good friend. My husband, Glenn, is a photographer for most of our cards and actually for all of our images. And Duncan suggested that maybe we should get into the greeting card business. And we had never photographed anything besides commercial, brides, people. And so this was a new venture for us, and it's turned out really great for us.
Enlightened financial professionals have always known that they don't just manage money, they manage a business. It's not a book of business, it's a business. They run it like a business, and they manage people. And part of what they're managing is how they're perceived and how they're described and how they feel about the relationship, ensuring that it never drifts. There's always a deep connection. Now, for years, I've been suggesting to advisors that they send out a Thanksgiving card to their clients. It's not that sending out a Christmas card or a holiday card in December is a bad idea. There's just other things you can do that time of the year to pay tribute to the relationship. A Thanksgiving card is something that is unique, might be the only card they get. And you've heard some great stories around, especially the advisors that stay true to it. They don't just level up, they keep at it, they keep doing it. Do you have a quick story on a financial professional who has gotten a great reaction from a client by sending a Thanksgiving card?
Oh my gosh, I get them all the time. And I was thinking back because it's been a dozen years of doing Thanksgiving, and it's been such an easy sell for people because it is easy for them to send out to their clients, easy for me to sell because I love gratitude. And this is a commercial holiday that you can add a little bit of personalization to by sending out a card. I actually had, not that long ago, just last week, someone call me up and tell me how thankful they were for having me suggest this all those years ago. It was probably a combination of you telling people Thanksgiving cards are great and me thinking this is such an easy campaign. I was working through this podcast that we were doing and thought, wow, how timely is that I had a thank you. So someone showing gratitude, right, to me for asking them to get the Thanksgiving cards going every year, because we send a reminder out to our clients every year for Thanksgiving. I don't bug them too much, but Thanksgiving I think is so important for them. And so I always send a reminder for Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's interesting. And we're going to talk a lot more than about Thanksgiving cards. We're going to talk about your playbook and your process that's panoramic and all-encompassing. But it is true. I often say to financial professionals, don't be surprised if you have a client who calls you to thank you for sending them a Thanksgiving card. But that ultimately went to another degree, which is great. I have to tell you my favorite story. And if I remember this correctly, a financial advisor was a little bit reluctant to send out cards. I finally convinced him to do it, and it pained him to admit to me that he got a great reaction. And I said, you got to do it again. If you don't, you're conspicuous in the absence of not doing it again. So you got to be consistent. And the next year it pained him and he was completely bought in at this point, but one of his best clients, his wife, apparently sent an email to the advisor just saying, we loved your card. It's beautiful. It's sitting on the piano beside the one you sent us last year.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, that is shelf life. It's impact and shelf life. Ultimately, it speaks to the caliber of client that would have a piano sitting in the middle of their home. But it's just never a bad idea. But this should be a recurring, ongoing process. So let's go deeper into the whole premise of high tech, high touch. I often say to advisors, don't focus on what you do, focus on what it does and what clients want and how you get them there. So ultimately what our clients, financial advisors want is they want clients who trust them and they want clients who brag about them in the spirit of advocacy. Now, this is what brings me to what I think is one of the most substantial unmet needs that has developed over the course of the last 5 years is just a sense of safe harbor. Like I'm in good hands. Like technology is becoming more significant. High tech has to be balanced with high touch. So in the spirit of a serial acronym maker, I've turned the word brag into a very powerful, actionable best practice. So
all right, let's hear it.
Yeah, I'm dropping this on Cathi in real time for the first time. So what do clients want that will induce them to brag as an advocate to a friend or a family member in a referable moment? They want a sense of belonging. Okay. So you go right to Maslow's hierarchy. It's a core need. I need to feel like I belong to something. Your clients need that safe harbor. That's the B. The R, recognition. The passage of time is speeding up. The velocity is intense. And I think if you will recognize what's going on in a client's life in a meaningful way, it just slows life down a little bit and they feel a deeper connection. So you have belonging, recognition, appreciation. Feel a sense of appreciation that you never take anything for granted. And that, of course, impacts familiarity, amnesia, and loyalty fatigue that can develop in a relationship, long-term relationship, multi-generational relationship. And then lastly, it's just gratitude. Creating a culture, an attitude of gratitude that demonstrates what it means to be your client. And that's exactly what standardizing as a best practice, being a sender of cards to commemorate client events. Now, I want to talk for a moment about this resource that you've developed at Lavish Cards called One Card at a Time. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this and what's inside of it? Because I've gone through it. It looks pretty powerful. Where did that come from and what does it do?
You know what? I was thinking about how Thanksgiving and giving thanks has always been so easy for me with cards.
Right.
So I've been doing some research on gratitude, and I grew up in a house that we were always very grateful for small things, big things, everything. That was just how we were raised. So it's just really built into who I am.
Yeah.
So I went, why have I never taken the words Thanksgiving and turned them into giving thanks? And so I thought, you feel so good when you're grateful for something, right? And so why don't we start a business day off in gratitude, right? So I read a book a while ago. It was 365 Days of Gratitude, and I think I pass it on to you too. And it wasn't exactly what I was thinking about when I put this product together. It was gratitude and appreciation, but more in a business sense, and to start your day off with some gratitude. So just taking a few minutes every day and just thinking of events and people who have made differences in your life, or even have done small things, right? Even someone that's always at reception, and just writing a thank you card to them, or just some sort of greeting card to them, or a note. It just lasts a lot longer than saying thank you, because I say thank you 20 times a day to people, right? But it's not the same thing as having something physical that you can look at on your desk or on your mantle or on a sideboard, or just even tucked in a drawer. And when you open that drawer, it's a symbol of that connection and the gratitude.
Okay, so you bring up a really good point that I forgot that I wanted to mention earlier on. Over the years, I've had many high-octane financial professionals dismiss this initiative as being a little bit flowery. It's like, I'm a financial advisor. Come on, this is just a little bit beyond. And I say, look, delegate this, empower somebody on your team to own this. And where I'm going with this is, I think, what percentage of the teams that you work with who buy into your process and protocol are assistants, client service assistants, and team members of a substantial team? I'm just curious.
Oh, probably, I would say more than 65% are assistants and team members.
Because ultimately they're doing the execution,
right?
But also they probably get it maybe a little bit more because they're talking to clients about little minutia issues, little details, service issues. And a lot of assistants tell me that their clients bare their souls, like they talk about things with them that they might not talk to the advisor about.
Right.
So they understand the chemistry dynamic, right?
Yeah. Or the advisor is too busy, right? And I don't know how many advisors actually have clients into their office, but if they have them into their office and they leave, they're probably stopping by and having a little chat, right? With whoever is out leaving. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it could be a group. It could be the advisor. It could be whoever. It could be a box of cards. We need to do this.
And that's what's powerful in my view about this process is that, first of all, you've got to take action. It's got to be a habit and a ritual around your client experience. And you can't let the law of diminishing intent or your own familiarity fade. This has to be consistently deployed. And it's interesting. I was mentioning to you something I've been suggesting to is that they should actually go one step further and dedicate, like actually anoint somebody as the chief acknowledgement officer on the team, which means every day, same time, recurring meeting with themselves for 30 minutes just to scour their best clients' social media posts.
Right. That's a little bit opposite of everybody else. Nobody wants their employees on Facebook and Instagram all day. So
30 minutes. And you know what's interesting? There's AI, I believe it's Crystal.
Okay.
That you can shape to actually do this. I'll look into that more a little further. I've had some people tell me about that, but if somebody will just tune out the world and let the power of incrementalism work, where literally they're just looking at what their clients are posting.
Right.
Hey, we got a new puppy, or
Yeah.
hey, my son just got his first real job.
Yeah.
Or hey, we just took a Viking river cruise.
Yeah.
And then having that chief acknowledgement officer send a card to the client, one card a day,
Mm-hmm.
one card at a time, just out of the blue, paying tribute to that client's event. Now, a little bit of time has passed. Has the real power of the brag acronym sunk in yet?
I'll have to write it down.
Okay.
I have to write things down to remember them. So,
hey, this is brand new, so it might need a little bit of refinement, but today on acronyms.
yeah, it's a great idea, Duncan. Yeah.
You're not just saying that?
No, it's, you know what? And it's different than what I intended that to be used for, but it definitely would work in that scenario. When I came up with this, we've got 365 days of gratitude. So I've got 2 packages. I've got one that's 250 cards because that's 50 weeks of 5 cards.
Business days.
In business days.
Gotcha.
And then I have the getting used to a package the every other day. So it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or 3 days a week, just to get used to it because everybody is so busy. But I actually think that if you take the time first thing in the morning, just settle down at your desk, think about a gratitude and write it down or get that note sent to someone. That feeling of gratitude, it sends different neurotransmitters out. It sends dopamine and out into your system. So it's a feel-good transmitters. So if you can start your day feeling good, it just makes you more productive. It just sets a tone for the rest of your day. And I think the time that you spend, the 5 or 7 minutes that you spend writing down a card probably makes up for its time 10 times in the day.
Okay, there's so much I want to say in response to that. First of all, transmitter, receptor, both feel good. I wonder if there's a HR dynamic where team members have a sense of belonging, that this is what they're representing to their community of clients. There's got to be an impact there. But just to clarify what you said, this resource is a bundle of cards and a playbook that prompts you with ideas around belonging, recognition, acknowledgement, and gratitude in that incremental compounding way. So it's just, you're not left to your own devices. It's hard to sit with a blank card and get inspired every day or every other day. This is just filled with examples. And there's 2 drivers to this. There's reactive, like what happens when a client reveals something going on in their life, a milestone, an achievement, a critical life event, or a setback. Like, how do you respond to that? This is huge. And then, of course, there's the scheduled, the touch points, the service model, Thanksgiving cards, birthday cards, St. Patrick's Day, for those who, all of us like that one.
Right.
And then others. So at a minimum, I would encourage the team to get your hands on this 365 days of gratitude, and then just consider the merit of building this into your client experience in your service model, and then just detach yourself from an expectation around any outcomes. Just be at peace with the fact that you're sending out great energy. It starts off being qualitative, and then it will be quantitative. There's a bit of a lag, but of course, it does kick in. Now, let's get into the whole realm of practice management and being habitual. You mentioned something to me, Walter Green, who had a mindset. Am I getting this right? Just say it now?
Yeah, say it now. So he has a movement, say it now, that he's had an epiphany many years ago. He's in his 80s now. We are so traditional in saying something at someone's funeral. after they've passed. So why not? And how sad that is for both people, because you have some regret not saying something to someone in the moment, and then the moment's gone. So his movement is about saying something now in the moment. So saying something before the moment passes.
Okay, I love that. And that is what I would consider, it leads me to something, a really profound qualitative key performance indicator. I started asking financial advisors a long time ago, how many funerals do you get invited to attend? How many birthdays and baptisms and various other meaningful family events are you invited to? Retirement parties, and on it goes. And it's funny because advisors, I would have a consultation booked for a Tuesday, and the advisor said, we need to reschedule to Thursday. I've got to attend a funeral for a family member of a long-term client. And this became almost a recurring part of their life, is just attending client events that they were invited to, is very powerful. So premises, obviously you're going to take action, participate, and respond in your own way, but not waiting for those events solely, just being in front of them. You also mentioned 365 thank yous. John Kralik wrote that book?
Yeah.
Kralik?
Yeah.
Very interesting story, actually. A gentleman who his life started falling apart, and to pull himself out of the proverbial ashes, he just started sending notes to people that showed kindness, that had an impact on him, previous teachers, mentors, friends. And it's a powerful story about someone's renaissance, because a mantra that stuck with me is giving starts the receiving process.
Right.
And not as a tactic, but as a way to live, a reason for being. And I guess what I got out of John Kralik's book is that you don't need to be in a point of despair to launch this, to make this part of your client experience and your culture. So any thoughts on that?
I think when you show gratitude or appreciation, or just even a small thank you, it starts a ripple effect. That person getting that card. Just imagine if you went to your mailbox and had a thank you card. We don't get very many cards in our mailboxes. Never mind getting a thank you card, like something that's written down, because we're so used to saying something in an email. Hey, thanks so much for doing that. It was great, blah, blah, blah. It's immediate. But, getting something that you can touch and feel and go back to and read those words over and over again. I think it's a powerful tool for connection and relationships.
No question about it. And part of our total client engagement premise is always consider going from vapor to paper. Like, the world has become so digital that the physical, what can somebody hold in their hands that amplifies how they feel about you? Because you have cards that advisors use as part of their introductory kits.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So a financial professional has an initial conversation with a prospective client that was introduced to him. And after the initial call, they schedule a meeting and they send out an introductory kit. And within that kit is a beautiful card. And it just stops people in their tracks. Remember, the aspiration is you want to achieve impact and shelf life. Impact, it slows life down. Shelf life, I can't dismiss it, let alone discard it. Like, I'm going to leave it sitting here, and I might be tempted at some point a month or two later to toss it.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I can't bring myself to, because it's so beautiful. Onboarding clients, part of the onboarding process, a nice card that maybe ties into your branding. So maybe, I know you've got cards that are
navigational,
right? So a compass, a lighthouse, a sailboat.
Yes.
An Inukshuk.
An Inukshuk.
Powerful. That's an inside joke, by the way.
And I think too, when you set for onboarding clients, you send them something beautiful. You send them you're not going to send them photocopied stuff. And so you want to set the stage for a relationship that shows that you've taken time and care about that new relationship. So I think it's just a great way to set the stage for a new client.
In a way that's got some personality.
Yeah.
It's not just about your technical ability. Most of your clients is they empower you and they don't need to micromanage. They are liberated because they trust you. But this is just triggering a moment of recognition that I am in good hands. So there is a multitude of applications for a card. It's not just celebrating. It's part of your client experience, fit, onboard, and then, of course, birthdays and things like that. So let's get into some of the deeper science. You have many clients that outsource a lot of this to you. We talk a lot about penmanship, and whenever the crew here needs me to sign a card for whatever reason, I don't just go to the card. Like, I'm so not used to writing that I will actually just slow down and rehearse it to make sure that it's legible. Yeah. So you've actually got an approach where a client can outsource some of that to you and your approach.
We can print anything in their cards that they'd like. So inside the card, they can even handwrite something, and then we can take that handwriting and put it into the card. They're not one card at a time in that sense. But I was thinking about handwriting, Duncan, because we'd spoken about that earlier, and we were talking about, is there an app? There's got to be an app. There's an app for everything. Right?
True, yeah.
Prado in your pocket.
Nice.
But you know what? I love, and I think you should try this too, because it just makes writing so much easier. And if I always buy a hardcover book, a blue line book. I love this book. I love the pages. I take my favorite pen and I write in that. And just to get some practice when I have to write cards, because I do little campaigns where I do handwriting too. So my favorite way to get my handwriting better is to find a quote that I love and to write it over and over again. And because you like what you're writing, your handwriting gets better. I bet you if you take your JFK favorite quote and write that 5 times, I bet you the 5th time, it will be so much nicer in your handwriting.
Okay, I'll give that a thought. And you're right. Those are some of my favorite quotes. It's interesting. I've become more mindful of it. And just this weekend, I golfed. It was actually terrible golf. It was beautiful, but I played terribly. But when I signed in and wrote my name and they asked me for my email address, I was so methodical about writing that the person looked at it and said, wow, are you an architect? Because your penmanship is, and I'm like, wow, so this is actually working. But I'm just kidding around a little bit, but it's just very important to be deliberate and to be organized. But the bottom line is there's outsourcing to Lavish to give somebody scale and efficiency, put more sand in the hourglass, so to speak. What about automated processes to make this a standard operating procedure? Do you have elements of that in your approach with your long-term clients?
We have, like in the back of this, we have a calendar. We have an actionable calendar on our website, one in the back of this book as well. So it just is a reminder. To be honest, our advisors are so funny. They are so methodical. I can almost guarantee I know when someone's going to call me to order their Thanksgiving cards or their birthday cards, like within a day or two, because it just automatically comes up to reorder. So they're never left in the lurch going, oh my gosh, I just ran out of all of my cards. So it is nice to have something like that. It's always on our website. This book is great too. It just has all the different holidays and just reminders in it. And it's not for everyone. You could spend your whole entire day writing Mother's Day cards, Father's Day cards, everything, Valentine's, of course, the big St. Patrick's Day holiday, which you should.
Arguably one of the biggest.
After Thanksgiving, I think that right there. So there's, but you don't want to overwhelm yourself either with trying to do too much, because like you said, you have to keep it going.
Yeah.
So if you've started the process, because if you sent me a Thanksgiving card for 4 years in a row and then you didn't send me one, I was like,
what's up? What's wrong?
What's going on? I'm not in his top percentage of clients, or I don't matter anymore. Or so it's a slippery slope where we have to keep it going. And your return on investment in that is tenfold.
Yeah, no. And to your point, this is a very helpful guide on things to do on a recurring basis.
Yeah.
There's layers here. I think there's a Valentine's approach that can go generationally, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. And we have someone that he has a lot of widows in his client list. So he sends to widows. So he sends he sends them a box of chocolates and one of our cards. So
that's very nice. That just feels nice.
Yeah.
And then probably Mother's Day would be applicable there as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's very interesting. So again, at a minimum, make sure somebody in your team get your hands on this one card at a time playbook from Lavish Cards. Is it a good idea if somebody does buy in, and let's just say they say, okay, part of our client experience, 12 touches, we'll do a quarterly card, Thanksgiving card, Valentine's card, or whatever that rotation would be. Is it a good idea for somebody on the team to keep track of what has been sent and to whom? Can that be an automated process to help keep it fresh and consistent?
Yeah, I think most assistants do that for their advisors. But you know what? It's something that we keep track of as well. So our clients call us. We have lots of people that order online, and we have lots of people that call us just because they're calling and talking to the same people year after year. And we help them along. If they have any questions, we help them along.
Oh, you keep track with what they ordered last year.
So we keep track.
So it's not the same card.
No, we don't want them to send the same card. And we always gravitate towards the things that we like. And a year later or 2 years later, we might not remember what card it was that we sent. So we always look back and go, oh, you sent that card 2 years ago. So do you want to switch it up? Or the verbiage. We try to keep things fresh for them. So that's something that we do for our clients.
And this is a mindset in the spirit of beginning with the end in mind. Remember, as the lead advisor, you want to depersonalize the relationship. And by that, your clients have as much appreciation and trust for the rest of the people on your team, not just you, and for the practice and the process, not just for your technical ability. You want to almost make yourself obsolete. One of my favorite KPIs is when an advisor tells me that they happen to answer the phone and the client said, oh, hi, how are you? And then they asked for the assistant. Like it was just a pleasant little interaction, but they knew who got things done in the weeds of technical fulfillment. I remember during a period of depersonalizing some businesses, I would ask an advisor, what would happen if you took a month off tomorrow? And the reactions were comical. But one that stands out is when an advisor said, that's a scary thought. But what's even scarier is what would happen if my assistant took a month off.
Right.
And I don't even really know what she does, but my clients love her. And the whole premise there was, okay, make sure that all of what's in her head around your business is documented, organized, professionalized, like right down to the mini-max, the inventory of cards on hand, where they're ordered, when they're sent. Turn this from an intention that creates goodwill to an actual process. And
I certainly hope he sent her a gratitude card.
Wouldn't that be a moment of truth to say, yeah, hey, well, great job. Especially now HR has become so powerful. And again, you meet with the teams where the chemistry and the consistency because of the buy-in is so incredibly powerful. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Call to action. At a minimum, view lavishcards.com.
Right.
If you haven't already done so, and get your Thanksgiving card campaign activated. Number one, also make sure you get one card at a time as a playbook just to spark the conversation with your team about what can we do to just inject some personality into our client relationship management approach. And then is there another idea that you have? You probably want to go back and revisit Bragg.
Bragg is really great, Duncan.
That seemed forced.
No, it is very good. It's a great idea. You always have all these great acronyms. You know what? I think the Thanksgiving card is a great sort of jump off point for seeing how your clients react. This one's easy, no brainer. And then I think the gratitude card, that is just something, it's just blank cards that you could write Happy Thanksgiving in it if you wanted to, but it's just something that you have. If you have those, we even have a little pack of 10 cards on hand, you'll use them. But if you don't have them, and if you have to go down to the store and grab a card, yes, I'll do that later. And then procrastination, I am a procrastinator. So I know if it's not right there in front of me and I don't do it right away, it most likely is 50% going to get done.
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
be prepared.
The Chief Acknowledgement Officer, give that some thought and equip them, empower them with a budget and direction of what you're trying to accomplish, and make sure that the time is carved out as a recurring meeting and let that incrementalism build. I strongly encourage also, go on to ChatGPT and just ask for a summary of John Kralick's book, 365 Thank Yous. It's a great kickstart in terms of inspiration around the power of this concept. And then just get started. And again, this bundle, this is maybe a bit of a stretch, but the whole proverb around one twig versus a bundle of twigs in terms of strength.
Right.
Like sending out one card, I mean, it's awesome. But if this is a ritual, if this is what it means to be your client, that bundle is going to catch on. So Cathi, great job as always. Say hello to
Thanks,
Glenn.
Duncan.
And the crew your team is just incredible. I get so much feedback on the road from the team about their interactions with Lavish and your execution.
And that's another thing too. And I just take it for granted, but my team member that prepares the packages handwrites a thank you note in each one of our packages, and they bundle them up so beautifully. So,
Yeah.
and we get lots of compliments, on the packaging, and, just having the same people. There's only 3 people that package things up. They've got one of 3 names on a package. So,
And their attention to detail is amazing.
They're amazing.
Hey, quick question for you before we wrap up. AI for getting inspired around what to write in a card. You a fan?
I am a fan.
Okay, good.
I think it is, especially getting into this, if you're thinking of doing this and trying to do 1 card a day or even 2 or 3 cards in a week, we stumble. Like it is so hard to put your thoughts on paper, but it's so much easier to speak into. So I speak into my phone. So I use an AI program and speak into it and say, write me this and this in 65 words and 150 words or ish, 150 words ish. It understands ish. And then I look at what it said. And I always say in a female tone, so you can figure out, but you should use your own words. You should use things that sound like you.
So AI can put you in the red zone, so you're not starting from scratch, and then you can shape it.
Absolutely. So it'll give you, say, 3 sentences in a thank you card or something like that. It'll give you 3 sentences, and sometimes things are just so flowery or they're too business-like, or so then you can just alter that in your own. It just makes things so much easier, and it also gives you proper sentence structure.
Yeah.
Which is hard because when you're writing in a card and you make a mistake, then you're going to pitch that card in the garbage. So you don't want to waste that card.
Yeah.
So sometimes having it written out already and then putting it in the card.
And that could probably impact quality control too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then the prompts, I like the female tone. That's a really nice element I hadn't thought of, clearly. The brevity, right? Starting with 150 and then going dropping down maybe to 107 and then maybe all the way down to 17, right?
Yeah.
Who knows how concise you want to be.
In a card, we'll have to work on that one.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. All right. I hope if nothing else, this just reminded you about how minor adjustments can lead to major improvements. The more technology creeps into our lives, the more the human touch matters. This is how you achieve professional contrast. This is how you activate a deeper sense of loyalty and belonging. This is how you make yourself indispensable and get to a point where a client feels they're doing a friend a disservice by not introducing them to you because they want the friend to belong to your community as well. I cannot overstate the ROI, the bang for the buck, and the energy this creates for your client base, for your team, and for yourself. So thanks very much. Was that awkward?
No.
She's awesome.
I'll send you a card.
Exactly. Okay. So thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. And get your hands on this, get that in action. And I'd love to hear your own success story on how your clients called you and your team to thank you for just activating this sense of chemistry and belonging in your client relationships. Thanks.
Thanks, Duncan.
You bet.
Thank you for listening to Always On with Duncan MacPherson, where our objective is to enable professionals to always be working on their business and on themselves. Want to learn more about Duncan and his team? Visit ParetoSystems.com. Don't forget to click the follow button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the hosts and/or guests and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Pareto Systems. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only.